Welcome back. You're watching Home Truths here on CNBC TV 18, where we got two experts to answer all your queries on the real estate regulator bill that was passed last evening by Parliament. Hitesh Jain, the senior partner of ALMT Legal, representing the buyers for us on the show. And we've also got Rohit Raj Modi, the vice president of CREDAI. He's representing the builder community. The next question I'm going to take from Twitter comes in from Diva Devs. But the question is, Gurgaon project late by 2 years and builder added floors ad hoc. Am I protected? Hitesh, I'm going to come to you first. This is such a rampant problem that we see where midway through construction floors are added. The Act, it seems to have tried to correct it by saying now you're going to need 75% of buyers on board to change any building plan. Are you satisfied? Do you think the states are going to adopt it, more importantly?
I think this is a very good provision because usually the buyers were complaining that there was a delay in delivery of the possession. Particularly in Gurgaon sectors also, we are representing a lot of clients, and also in NCR area where they have been complaining that suddenly they see the deviation in the floor plans, structural plans and everything. And this bill clearly envisages the consent of 2/3 of the buyers. So from that perspective, this is the most critical provision of the Act. And as far as this provision is concerned, every state enactment which will be made, they will be required to comply with. So they will not be able to make any provision which is inconsistent, because that goes, the provisions like this, provision like deposit of 70% of the money in the escrow account, these are the critical provisions of the Act, and which will be required to be followed mandatorily, even in the state legislation that will be enacted over a period of time.
Okay, so let's hope the states actually do adopt it. Like you pointed out, it is a rampant problem, particularly in the National Capital Region. I'm going to give the next question to Rohit Raj Modi. It's coming from someone called Pinto Ka Gussa. Will the bill make housing affordable? Rohit Raj Modi, do you think this bill has the potential to rein in prices? I understand right now we're in the midst of a dead property market, but do you think the provisions in the bill will help rein in prices, make properties more affordable?
Not in the short term to mid-term, actually. I would think contrary. In the short term to mid-term, the prices will go up because there is cost to compliance and there is a cost to suboptimal utilization of finances. Since the finances will be locked in to the extent of 70% in the escrow mechanism, there is a suboptimal use of capital. So there would be increase to that extent as well. But yes, as the Act envisages having single window clearance and and so on and so forth, as and when those things come true, and the time to get approval would shrink to what we hear to about 30 days, if that day ever arrives, that will definitely have an impact on the pricing.
Okay, so you think that only if the government approval process is shortened, could you have the ability to bring down prices? I hope Pinto Ka Gussa doesn't get too much gussa listening to your answer, Rohit. We're running out of time. The next question I'm going to pick up is from someone called Mustang Molly. My project delayed by 3 years in Noida, no completion certificate. How much penalty owed to me? Hitesh, I'm going to give you this one. We're getting a lot of tweets asking about ongoing projects, asking about penalties, late projects. What are the provisions in the bill? And of course, if adopted by the states, does it quantify the penalty at all?
Yes, it quantifies the penalty, it fixes the interest, it also provides if there is a willful default, that is complete deviation from the agreement, then the remedies to also take over the project from the developer and complete the project either through the competent authorities or through the association of the buyers. But at the end of the day, there are certain delays which will be also linked to the approvals also. In that cases, I think both buyers and the developers will be suffering. So as Rohit rightly pointed out, that for the buyers to really get any benefit of the provisions of the Act, there has to be a holistic structural reforms also on the approval side, and also particularly at the municipal level and also at the environmental level. So because that is one area where suppose if the buyer, if the developers is saying that the delay is beyond his obligation, then in that case it becomes a grey area.
Okay, so there is still a grey area, but at least the Act tries to quantify the penalty, saying that even the interest that is paid by a consumer for a home loan, that will have to be paid by the builder to the consumer. Rohit Rajmodi, you're going to like this question. It's by Kunal Gao. All of you are normally called opaque, people not to trust, but look, this is the question. What happens when an honest builder, after all approvals, fails to sell project and is stuck with 70% inventory? How will he deliver? How are you guys going to deliver if you're faced with such a situation, Rohit?
Look, I think what the question actually is about a business cycle or a business plan. If a developer has all the approvals and if I understand the question correctly, the person is asking that 70% inventory is unsold, then how will the developer deliver the project, right? That's an issue of financial closure. So the developer, if he has 70% inventory ready, then he would be able to access to institutional funding through banks and utilize that amount to complete the project. And because we live in a market where end of the day housing is deficient. So if you have a finished product, a good product, a clean product, I don't think there's any dearth of buyers in the market.
Okay, so if you have a good product, and I would imagine at the right place and at the right price, you're going to find a buyer. And of course, when people's disposable incomes also goes up, that's been one of the big problems that we've been facing. We're running out of time, so here's the final question of the evening. I'm going to give this one to you, Hitesh. How far can state governments dilute the clause of the Act? Hope ongoing projects are taken in the ambit. You know, we've got this one before as well. In fact, I think we did this one. We've got a lot more coming up like this one. So my final question to you. How real is the fear that the states are not going to play ball? We've seen corruption rampant in the system at the time of getting approvals. Obviously, the centre cannot regulate municipalities. They cannot regulate the approval process in cities and in states. So, Hitesh, what do you think is the solution for that? The fact that, you have to get all approvals in time before launching, is that good enough?
There is a categorical provision in the Act that it is also applicable to ongoing projects. Second, it clearly says that if the state makes any inconsistent law, then to that extent the law laid down by the parliament in this act will be applicable. So the state really do not have much scope to deviate, because if they would have left that scope, then this act, whatever we are discussing, the whole discussion will become an academic discussion. So I think the lawmakers in the parliament, they are conscious of the fact, and they have ensured that if there is any inconsistency between this legislation and the state legislation, then this legislation will be applicable. So this act will be clearly applicable in case of inconsistency. So the state, frankly speaking, do not have any leeway to make any provisions which are inconsistent with the provisions of this act.
Right, because that's been the maximum number of queries that we've got today. That will ongoing projects be part of the real estate regulator? Will they get the penalties as envisaged by the real estate regulator bill approved by Parliament yesterday? We're getting a lot of viewer queries. Unfortunately, we're completely out of time. So Hitesh and Rohit, I'm going to thank you for taking the time out and joining us here on Home Truths. And with that, we're going to wrap up this special edition. Thanks for watching.